This is Early Kick-Off. In the next half an hour, we'll discuss the key talking points from the world of football. Will we see more protests from Manchester United fans before their rearranged game against Liverpool?
Plus, could we really see Conor McGregor buy the club? We'll discuss the prospect of the notorious in the Premier League.
Also on the way, after West Bromwich Albion's relegation, is that the end of Sam Allardyce in management?
And has Pep Guardiola found his match in Chelsea's Thomas Tuchel? And what does Saturday's result mean for the Champions League final?
Right, to get into all of those topics, we're joined by Flex from United Stand and our very own Michelle Owen. Very good morning to both of you. Flex, I want to start with you. Let's get straight into this. Because of those fans' protests, United have got to play 3 games in 5 days. So have those protests hurt the team more than they've hurt the Glazers?
You could argue that because of how quickly we got to play the games, but I still think our voices needed to be heard. I am disappointed that, like I said last week, that some of the protests overspilled into unsavoury scenes. You don't condone that. You don't want people getting injured. But I think the frustration's been there from us fans for the 16 years that the Glazers have been in charge. And I think it's absolutely right to have our voices heard, albeit in the right way. I think it is a kind of a way of the Premier League saying, you know what, you guys got the game postponed. We are going to kind of make it very difficult for you. But Ollie said that even before we were protesting earlier on in the season, just before we was about to play Everton, when we were done over by the fixture list there before. And he said, I won't give them the satisfaction of seeing us lose. And we haven't lost all too many since then. So big up to Ollie for that. I think Ollie will manage it accordingly. It is a difficult situation. And yes, you're probably right. It has had an effect on the players, which I don't want to see that continue. I think that is unfair, but I still want us to be loud and proud as Manchester United fans and have our voices heard.
Sure. But Flex, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the Liverpool fans, like all football fans, were pretty annoyed with the Super League. But Jurgen Klopps came out and said, don't do anything that's going to hurt the boys. You're going to hurt my boys. And the Liverpool fans backed off. Are Manchester United fans going to do the same thing?
No, they won't. But the difference is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wouldn't go on record and kind of discourage the fans not to protest. I think it's a very different type of relationship that the Liverpool fans have with their owners. They've seen their owners come in, invest in the team, bring success in recent years. And I'm not saying the only reason we're protesting is because we're not being successful. That's not the case. But like with Manchester City fans, you're not seeing them queuing up outside the Etihad to get their owners out. Their owners are actually doing the right thing by the club. They've just been part of the Super League, which really they're sort of saying, smack on the wrist, don't do it again, please, but carrying on putting loads of money into the club and getting us loads of trophies. It's very, very different with the Glazers, very, very different. So I think it's a little bit of a different dynamic. I think that the Fenway Sports Group, what they have there is a lot different to what the Glazers have at Manchester United. So it's a completely different ballgame.
What's been the reaction to Joel Glazer's comments? Because he's responded to United fans on Friday saying he's committed to improving communication with supporters and he wants to accelerate discussions about share options for fans. What's been the general reaction amongst fans to that?
In my opinion, and I can only see from my opinion, which seems to be a general consensus, and I think I'm safe in saying this, is that hasn't been received too well. We need actions, you know. He needs to accelerate actions, not words. And, you know, he went on record saying that he's going to pay the £15 million to good causes to UEFA. He's also going to pay the 5% we're losing in revenue. That's great, but when you think about it, he's paying it out of our money that he's been taken out of the club anyway. It's almost like your friend saying, I've got the tab for this meal, when your friend's been stealing out your back pocket for ages. He's using your money to pay for the meal. So we're not fooled by it. We're not fooled. That's the least he should do. He's not going to be able to come out and say, don't worry, guys, I've got the fine because it was his mess up. We're not listening. So, yeah, we need to see action. It's what I will say, though, it's massive that the fans have been this vocal to actually force him to start engaging. That is progress, and that is another key reason, guys, why we can't stay silent.
Michelle, what do the Glazers have to do to get back on side with the fans, do you think?
Well, I'm not a Manchester United fan, so it's probably best to ask a Manchester United fan. But the very basic thing from what Flex is saying, from reading online and looking at the forums and the social networks, is just communicate with fans to start with, you know. And when you look at the letter last week from the Supporters Trust, that's what they're asking for. just a bit of basic communication as a very basic thing. It's not a lot to ask for, is it? And if you look at some of the best owners across world football, that's what they do. And their CEOs as well, they have a good relationship with the fans. And it's fair to say right now that is not the case at Manchester United. But I would imagine that is the very first starting point of a huge turnaround that they would need to have to get the Manchester United fans back on side.
And Flex, in terms of on the pitch, obviously another win yesterday, another comeback yesterday against Aston Villa. Just 4 defeats for United this season, which is quite incredible, really. It's just the draws, really, that have done the damage. Should they be closer to City, considering just 4 defeats this season?
I think so. Considering how the season's gone, I mean, we definitely are second half FC, aren't we? Like, we just seem to just turn it on as soon as we go a goal down. But we need to do better there. And do you know what? At half time, when we've been, conceding goals, a lot of us Manchester United fans, or me in particular anyway, I'm always like, this should happen, he should change this, he should change that. But what Ollie has proved is that he can get a reaction out of these players. Only lost 4 games all season, 4 games. And I know it's if, buts and maybes, but you look at some of the really silly points that we've dropped, and also earlier on in the season when we didn't have a pre-season. You turn a few of those into wins and it would be a different season. So Ollie's definitely 100% making progress. I think if we can finish the season in second, which looks very likely, and get our hands on the Europa League, which will be Ollie's first trophy at United, I think we've done really well, considering at the beginning of the season, if you was to ask me where we would finish, I would have said it would have been tough to push for 4th. But we've got to show investment in the summer. The Glazers are talking up all of the talk that they want to talk about, but we need to get this summer right. Ollie's at the cusp of really kind of kicking this team on. We need a central defensive midfielder, in my opinion. We need a centre-back. Hopefully we keep Cavani, which he surprised absolutely all of us, me included. I thought that would be a real bad decision, but he's proved us all wrong, which is fantastic. So, yeah, we need the next level of investment to kick on next season. But to answer your question, Emma, we should be closer, yeah, considering where we were in January, which was like top of the league. We just ran out of steam a little bit.
Michelle, let's talk Mason Greenwood. Should he make Gareth Southgate's starting 11 in place of his teammate Marcus Rashford?
Flex is nodding very enthusiastically.
I didn't hear that bit. I didn't hear the Rashford bit.
Oh, you didn't hear the Rashford bit. Look, he's still a teenager, but what a great stat for him. The most goals ever as a teenager for Manchester United. And that's taking into account the likes of Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. I know you have to take into account when they joined. Whose place does he take? The starting 11, well, he has to make the squad first, doesn't he? And after what happened last year, he needs to get back in Gareth Southgate's good books. But, with performances like yesterday, it's easy to make a case for him. But you look at that England attacking line, or, players that aren't even being mentioned for the squad. There's so many, which is wonderful, but Sterling, Rashford, Kane, and then you think of players like Patrick Bamford, who isn't even getting a mention. OK, slightly different player, but he'll be thinking, well, I've scored this many this season. Why am I not getting a mention? And now Mason Greenwood is. I've been consistent over the season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, all these players. And, of course, Jack Grealish, who is injured at the moment, which I think is going to harm his chances. But we're going to see slightly bigger squads, so I would now expect to see him in the squad. But starting 11, I don't think so.
What do you think, Flex?
Difficult one, isn't it? It really is. I think if maybe Jack Grealish, like you said, he should be on the plane, but hopefully he can get back fit. But he's struggling with fitness issues right now. I actually, as an England fan, I would actually hate to see Jack Grealish miss out actually because of injury. But like you said there, just because of the bigger squads, hopefully Mason gets in there. Foden's been unbelievable. Sterling not so much, but the experience is there. Sancho again has had an up and down season, but he still showed quality by the end of it. We don't often talk about him. Rashford is actually the one, even at Manchester United at the moment, who looks a little bit disorientated. Paul Pogba's come onto the left-hand side, which is his position. Marcus Rashford's been moved to the right, where Mason Greenwood's actually been doing very well. And then he tries to play up front, and Cavani's playing very well. So Marcus Rashford's the one who's kind of been moving from pillar to post, and he's carrying this injury as well. So on form, Mason Greenwood's probably there. But, as we know, Gareth Southgate isn't only going to pick his team on form. So I really do hope that Mason's on the plane. He's proved, second season that, first season wasn't a fluke after a slow start this year. And he's been asked to do a different job this year as well for the team. And he's done that. He's improving game on game. So I definitely think he should be on the plane. It's just whether or not there's enough. Actually, the train, because it's going to be here, isn't it? It's going to be so,
fair point,
let's get him an oyster, get him him on the underground. Get him on there.
Do you want the Glazers removed and Conor McGregor in their place?
I tell you what, Mike. You try getting an apology out of the Glazers. It's Conor McGregor. Try getting an apology out of him if he did something wrong. He apologises to absolutely nobody. It's that new toy syndrome, isn't it? I think that I don't know. I don't know about exactly what the new owner could entail. At the end of the day, Manchester United is a business and the club makes loads of money. So really, whoever takes the club will be business people or want to make money. It's just, will they put the club at the forefront of that? I'm not necessarily sure that that's Conor McGregor, but I definitely know it's not the Glazers. So I probably would crazily take a punt at Conor McGregor. I don't know what that will bring. That would be absolute scenes, to be honest. It'd be crazy. But I do know that the Glazers aren't it. So yeah, I can't see it happening now. I think it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek from Conor McGregor, but that would be very interesting.
Flex, before we take a break, I want to ask you one more about United. Liverpool coming up this week. Will there be more fan protests?
There's talks of there being more protests. What I will say is I'm not sure exactly how big there will be. I'm not the guy to be able to tell you that. But as a Manchester United fan myself, what I will say is this: yes, fans have a responsibility to make sure that unsavoury scenes don't happen from the few minority fans that did happen last week. But what I would say is this, is that I think the onus is now on the club. To be fair, the fans have the right to voice their opinion and they have to expect it. I think they were ill prepared last time and there's no reason why, with a whole week to prepare and knowing what could be potentially about to happen again, maybe the fans tried to get the game called off again, I don't know. But they've had ample time. I've seen they've ramped up security outside Old Trafford. You know, why not put a curveball out, make the team not go to the Lowry for a change, make them all drive to Carrington and then get a coach from there. Do something. This is on the club to make sure they have everything in place to make sure that nothing can scupper the chances of the game carrying on. And I know that might seem a little bit naive. Maybe I'm on the side of the fans because I am a fan and that's what I do and I love us as the fans. But I just feel that the club should basically put everything in place to make sure that nothing can go wrong.
OK, well, fingers crossed. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will discuss Manchester City losing twice to Chelsea out of 2. And sadly, we're going to talk about that Panenka.
Flex. Hello, welcome back to Early Kick-Off, where we're joined by Flex from the United Stand and our very own Michelle Owen. We're going to talk about Chelsea and Manchester City now. Of course, Chelsea with that 2-1 win over the weekend. And I suppose more importantly as well, guys, a second win for Chelsea in the space of, a month now over Manchester City. Michelle, starting with you, what, I suppose, psychological impact does that have now going into the Champions League final, which is, a few weeks away?
Oh, absolutely huge. It's quite incredible. I was looking at Tuchel's stats against Pep in Germany, and they played each other 5 times, and Tuchel lost 4 of those. Now, I know it's 2 completely different sides, but you look where Chelsea were a few months ago and the job that Tuchel's come on and done, it's massive. He's beaten, since he's come to Chelsea, he's beaten Jurgen Klopps, Simeone, Mourinho, Ancelotti, Zinedine Zidane, and, of course, Guardiola twice now. So in terms of, I guess, a psychological edge for those 2 managers going head-to-head, Tuchel is suddenly getting the better of Guardiola in England. And it's an All-English Champions League final where he faces him. So for him, it's massive. And for the players, they'll just believe. It's that belief, isn't it? Going to, whether it's Istanbul or Wembley or wherever it is, having that belief that you can beat this side that have seemed so phenomenal this season, particularly since they picked up in the second half of this season, winning the League Cup. At one point, they were on for the quadruple, let's not forget. It's a huge thing going into arguably one of the biggest games in the domestic leagues across the European League across the world. It's absolutely massive, this game. And for them to have this opportunity now off the back of 2 victories, they'll be full of confidence, and Pep will be a little bit worried because he can tend to overthink the Champions League. So looking forward to this one. My dog has just entered the room. Sorry, got a bit distracted there. The joys of working from home.
Hello, Barney.
It's just down here. Yeah, it's Barney.
So, Flex, Aussie cricketers always used to say you never give a mug an even break. So when you've got your opposition down, you keep them down. Did Manchester City really mess up then at the weekend, as Michelle is intimating?
Yeah, they did. They did. They had the chance to kind of basically put the game beyond Chelsea, and Aguero, who's going to be getting a statue when he leaves, tries a Panenka. But if there's anyone who's got credit in the bank at City, it's Aguero. I still think they will win the league, but it is a little bit squeaky bum time, I like what Ollie was saying, to say that we needed to go and do our jobs. Can I say that? That's
you
all right,
can.
isn't it? Squeaky.
Well, you have done.
Yeah, I think Ollie said, we need to keep them working and keep them, still needing more points to get that trophy, and that's what we've done. But on the Thomas Tuchel situation, it's massively interesting because he looks like he's got their number. Ollie's done that to Pep Guardiola too, at certain times in the league as well. Well, we're unbeaten in the league under Ollie versus Pep. It's just the semi-finals that have done us over. But I think they'll be massively worried. And on one side, Pep will use it as a kind of 2 dress rehearsals to say, okay, we messed up there. We need to get it right. So on one hand, that does actually play into City's hands, that they'd rather come into it of the experience of playing against the new manager twice to really know what's going on. And he will probably look at it from a City point of view and said we should have had that game out of sight. And they did make changes. But Tuchel and Chelsea, they don't concede many goals. They're very difficult to score against. They're quite pragmatic. But also they've got great players. So I think that Manchester City fans will be extremely nervous, which is fantastic. I hope they don't win the Champions League.
Thanks very much.
Oh, yeah, I hope they don't. And, hopefully Tuchel does a number over Manchester City. I really do hope so.
And Flex, you mentioned the changes. Sorry, Michelle, go on.
I was just saying, Tuchel's only lost once in 16 games as well so
incredible.
far. So, yeah, incredible record. He's just got up to speed so quickly, I think.
I think that means he's due, Michelle.
If you say so, mate.
Flex, I was going to say on the changes, City made 9 changes. Do you think it's a missed opportunity for some of those players who had their chance on the weekend against Chelsea?
Yeah, yes and no. I think Pep's kind of made his mind up with the more consistent A team. Their team's so good, even their B team is capable of winning the Premier League. Raheem Sterling is literally part of that B team now. How crazy is that? Ferran Torres and players like this, Jesus, it's just an incredible second string, if you want to call it that. But I think Pep's made his mind up as to what that starting 11 will be way in advance. I think he's a very meticulous manager. He'll be looking at the ways to get at Chelsea. And again, even with the second team, they should have put the game out of sight for Chelsea. It's a very different game at 2-0. I just think that some of the pressures that come with Manchester City overcoming that Champions League hoodoo, I think he'll be worried about that too. That will play a part. I don't care how experienced you are, and also those set of players haven't won the Champions League, or whoever has not won it there. So I think it's a massive, massive game, and it is kind of sad actually that we're in the Europa League final, and you look at two English teams in the Champions League final. It kind of takes the gloss off it a little bit, but I still think. I still stand by what I said. I want Chelsea to win, and that's not great. I don't want Chelsea to win anything, but definitely.
Decisions. Well, you don't want Chelsea to win anything, Flex, but are they title contenders next season?
They look good place to give a good account of themselves. I think what we did see is even when Lampard got sacked, I thought it was a little bit harsh. I thought they could have given him more time. But to be fair, what we're seeing is when you bring in an accomplished, seasoned pro manager in Thomas Tuchel, who's the perfect orchestrator for the band. He's done brilliantly. He's done brilliantly, and he's got them organised. They had the players. It's almost like Abramovich says, "Listen, mate, this squad's got £250 million in it. Don't tell me that it's not good enough. We need somebody to take the reins." And I think if they add a striker to their ranks, because they're kind of playing without a proper number 9, I would say Giroud's probably going to leave, and Werner hasn't been tearing up trees with the maps he's missing, but he's still contributing. I think if they go and add a striker to their team, they keep Thiago Silva and add a little bit of depth again, they absolutely can probably be up there, along with Manchester United again, if we sign right as well. So yeah, I think Chelsea will be back on it. I think Liverpool as well, injury-free Liverpool, and they're going to invest as well, will be up there. So again, we do this at the end of every season. The prospect of the next season looks so exciting already, and then we get an anticlimax, and then, like you said, West Ham will probably be in there the whole time.
Michelle, but before we leave this, Flex made an interesting point about Lampard being replaced by someone who'd earned his stripes. That is interesting, because Lampard got parachuted into a top job. Wayne Rooney got the Derby job. Do these people have to go away, like Thomas Tuchel, and work at clubs like Mainz and actually spend years and years, like Jurgen Klopp did, learning the ropes before they get a top job?
In my opinion, I don't think it would do any harm. I read a great piece on The Athletic recently about young English coaches in the EFL, the likes of Mark Bonner at Cambridge United.
Yeah.
He's just got them promoted in his first season, proper season in charge since COVID. Michael Duff at Cheltenham Town, another one, an ex-player, okay, with respect, not quite as good as the likes of who you've just mentioned, Frank Lampard, but they're earning their stripes at really decent jobs in the EFL. With respect to the EFL, yes, it's not the Premier League, so yeah, go and do the groundwork, go and learn from others. John Terry at Aston Villa is actually doing it under Dean Smith. So I don't think it's a bad way to go. And from the names you've just cited there, Mike, it's a good way to do it, and it's proven to work.
Well, one of the names we know really well is Sam Allardyce. Of course, West Brom relegated yesterday. Flex, what's next for him? This is the first time he's been relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah, I think what's next for Sam Allardyce is just more Sam Allardyce. He'll probably leave West Brom, go to somebody else who's probably going to start struggling in the league, and plan the escape route. I just think he ran out of steam with this West Brom side. You look at the sides that he has managed in the past, with that really good Bolton Wanderers side that had a lot of stars in it, Blackburn and West Ham and teams like this. They had what they did have in Crystal Palace. They had experience, and I think that this West Brom side just lacks that a little bit, and we're probably always, I hate to say it to the Baggies fans, but probably probably not going to be able to beat that drop, even with the likes of Sam. They should have, they pulled off some big results though, West Brom, and like he said, it's the teams in and around them that they really struggled against. some of the free hits that they had at City. I remember they got a draw against us. I'm sure they got a good result against Chelsea. Well, they beat Chelsea up actually. I say that. But I think Sam Allardyce will just do more Sam Allardyce things, to be honest.
Flex, the music started. They're getting rid of you. Thank you both. You've been absolutely brilliant. Flex, I'm taking away from this that even though you don't want City to win the Champions League, secretly you do. We'll see you next time on Early Kickoff. Bye now.